Hello, it's Ruby, and today I'm going to be showing you my Notion setup. I use Notion to organise so many aspects of my life, and truly the way that I organise and plan my life has changed so tremendously since I started using this platform. And so I am so excited and so grateful to say that this video is actually sponsored by Notion. It's an absolute dream to be working with them, and yeah, I'm really excited to show you my Notion setup today. So Notion does offer premium plans, but the standard version and the one I use is completely free. So I would really encourage you to just take a look at Notion and try it out because it's so versatile and flexible, and no matter what you need to plan, you'll be able to find a way to customize Notion to help you. Okay, so right here on the side, you can see it says personal home, and this is my main home page. As you can see, I've got three headings here, which I've just color coded. I've got daily, university, YouTube, and other. So let's say I wanted to create a new one on personal and social things. Then to create a new page, all you've got to do is / and then search for page. Notion is really easily customizable. Like, you can customize it even if you have no coding experience. First of all, to do, I use a combination of paper and digital to-do lists, and all of my digital to-do lists are on here. So you can see that I've got a to-do list here for resetting for the new year, which are things that I'm doing over the course of this week. Also a to-do list for today, and then I keep some break ideas here as well. So you can really easily create to-do list boxes. You can also make sub-to-dos really intuitively. And then along the right hand side, I have long-term to-do lists. Under university, I have like a general one, and then these two are empty at the moment because I haven't started term yet, but during term time, this will have the readings that I need to do for that week and seminar preparation and things. So let's say for this, I need to watch commentary of Rebecca. Let's say that I'm going to do that today, so I can just drag that here and add that to my to-do list. Oh, and also on the left, I keep my morning and night routines on the side in case I forget them. Okay, so next here I'm going to show you the trackers. So I use Notion to track my expenses. As you can see, I've got one for 2020, one for 2021, and I just separate it into personal and then quote-unquote business, which is anything related to YouTube. So this is the table format I use. It's only January 4th, so I haven't actually bought anything, but just to give you an example of how I would use this, let's say that I bought mild liners. So the mild liners, $4.59, card. And then at the bottom you can see it adds up, so I can see how much I spent. So next here we've got book reflections. I've started using Notion to write thoughts on all of the books I read because I read a lot and yet I don't retain as much as I want to retain. So now every single time I finish a book, I will just bullet point some key thoughts into this Notion page. So you can see I've separated it into lighter fiction, classics, children's books, and poetry. Underneath, I would just bullet point a few key thoughts. Also within this page, I've made a separate one for non-fiction books. So this is a table which, again, is just really easy to put in. And when you have a table, each line has its own like miniature page. As you can see, within this page, I will write all of my notes. There's also a place where I've linked poems I want to learn. So if I come across a poem which I think is particularly nice, then I will put it in this table. So I can copy and paste the poem into this miniature page. I also put in the link just as a backup. And then I tag it with learning, to learn, or learnt. There are also quotes to learn. If I find a really lovely quote in a book that I'm reading, I will put it here. I like to learn these kinds of quotes when I'm out on walks, and since you can access Notion on your phone, I will just get Notion up on my phone and find the quote that I want to learn and then learn it while I'm on my walk. Okay, so here is my meal plan. I use this really basic table and I just make room for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I like to make a meal plan because it means that I can plan in advance the food that I need to have in for that week and make sure that my recipes are actually using up food that we already have in. So you can see at the bottom, I've also got this long shopping list, and the things that are ticked are the things that we have in at the moment, and the things unticked are the things that we need to get in. So this is just a really easy way to always know what we have in and what we don't. Also here I've got meal ideas. These are like my favourite snacks, also my favourite meals. I've got a space for recipes I want to try, and if that recipe is from a video, so for example, this falafel recipe is from Pick Up Limes, I can just really easily link the video, and then when I want to make it, I can be redirected there. Then we've got journaling, which I did religiously in September and October, and I kind of fell out of the habit, but I've got started on it again in January. I was actually inspired by Jade to make this page. I will write down 3 things I'm grateful for, so for example, Notion, good things that happened today. I've also got this charming little page called Roommate Space, which is one that is shared with Blakeney, so both of us use Notion, and It's great because you can share pages between each other and both edit them. First of all, there's rent details, just like a checklist so we can tick when each of us have paid it. Another thing we put in is our lease agreement, and this is a PDF file which was sent to us. You can just add any file so that it's like embedded in Notion, and then whenever you want it you can just click on it and it will download. This is our weekly timetable from last term. We haven't updated it for this term yet because we're not back at university. We also have a shared weekly meal plan for the both of us. As you can see, week 4 was a little bit iffy because that's the week I went home and we ended up just having leftovers. Then we have like a leisure thing, so this is like fun things that we do together or like inside jokes. And we have a shared YouTube playlist, so that's just linked here. So university, okay, this is the, I think this is the most interesting bit and it's the thing I'm going to spend most time on. I'm definitely happy to make another video going through in loads more depth how I use Notion to actually take my notes, but I use Notion to take all of my university notes. So like all of my lecture notes are on here, all of my seminar notes, all of my planning for essays, all of my essays, like I write my essays on Notion. Here you can see I've got key information. So when an important email comes through, which might come in useful later, especially when it's really long, I will just bullet point the key parts of that email and put it under a toggle. One of the best things about Notion is the toggle system. It's really easy. All you've got to do is do that little arrow thing and you go like that, and then it makes a toggle, and then you can hide information. So everything just looks a lot neater, which is lovely. I've also got my packing list here. I've got my university bucket list on here as well. University capsule wardrobe, so these are the clothes I have with me at university. Okay, so this is the main bit. So first time modules. 2 modules last year I did Theatricals and Empire of Liberty. I'm actually going to start with Empire of Liberty. As you can see, I've just made the banner, the Declaration of Independence. We've got a general section here. This is a list setup, which means that when you click on it, you get one of these mini pages. There's a whole page for each of the weeks that we did with all of the notes. So for example, if we click on week 6, Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, and this is what each of the pages looks like. So I thought I would demonstrate how I would use one of these tables with Little Women as an example. So I will put in the title and also the date. Then you can add an emoji, and again, I'm just going to change the cover. So then there's a place for me to write a plot summary, and also just a place to bullet point where this piece sits in American literature, like how important it is and why it's important. Then I've got a space for initial thoughts, so there's just a place where I can put an overview of my thinking, like any general thoughts that I had whilst reading. So these might be questions, things to look into. And there's also a space for more specific thoughts, so if there was like a particular image I thought was interesting on one of the pages. There's space to put in lecture notes. For context research, I just put in some author biography, which is always useful, some information on the contemporary reception, and then any other specific context. For the critical reading, I will just write the title of the essay, link the essay so I can easily access it, and then under a toggle just bullet point my notes from that. Each of the essays I did are just linked on their own pages here, so I can easily access the essay and access the feedback. So then, okay, this is one of my favourite bits. So under context and critics, I've got an American timeline and all of my critical readings for the modules. So I can copy these really easily just doing Command-C, and then I can put it somewhere else. Everything's under a toggle and everything's linked. And then my very favourite thing, okay, this might actually be my very favourite thing I've made on Notion. It's not like really complex or anything, but it's something I'm really, really proud of, and it actually helped me so much with my studies. I wish I had Notion when I was at school so that I could have started this when I was doing my GCSEs. It's just been like an absolute game changer for doing any kind of research. So this is my America timeline. Whenever I was doing context research, or whenever we spoke about something in a seminar and or a lecture and I learnt about a new historical event, I put it into this timeline. Within each century, we've got it separated into each decade. There might be some more details under a toggle again, but it's just a really great way to organise and categorise all of your historical research. So let's head over to my theatricals one next, which is the one that I think I prefer even more. So like with Empire of Liberty, I have a timeline for this. We've just got the same setup of separating everything into decades. And then you have all of these really key events, which at a glance can be so helpful, like especially with this module. We were looking at a fairly short time frame of about 50 years. Theatre in the 16th and 17th centuries was almost like a news outlet. There weren't newspapers yet, and this and gossip were the two really main ways that people learnt about current affairs. Often they were engaging with key events that were happening at the time, which can help us to understand the play and what it's saying a lot better. Having this information is so handy when you're looking at the plays. Like, for example, if I'm looking at a play that was published in 1604, I will be able to say, oh yes, this was after the first flushing toilet. I don't know why that would be relevant, but it might be. Or this was after the Conventicle Act. Also, I've got some various other context research which has come in handy. For example, I've got details on each of the theatres, which means that I can really easily access this information at a glance. I find that Notion is so handy for organising information. It keeps it really neatly categorised, and you can also, as you can see, like there's a search box, so I could search for like publication and it will show me all of the times where I've referenced publication. I've also got the same thing of like critical readings, so all of my critical readings and notes are linked here. There are loads of toggles. You can put so much information in here and yet it still looks really neat and it's really manageable to work with. Now we're going on to the main texts. So The Changeling, this was my favourite play we looked at. As the title, I just put The Changeling by the author and then put in brackets the theatre and the date. For this one, at the top I have a play summary in the same way. I also always put in a character list, and then on the side I always link the key things, which for me are the timeline, the critical reading, and once again in the same way I've just got add a new text and it will come up with a template, so it's really easy and manageable. At the very bottom of this page I have something called an inline list, which is where you have all of these small pages come up as opposed to big pages. So I've got one for key terminology. I've also put in these notes from a documentary series I watched, and also notes from any extra online lectures I watched in my free time. Now I'm going to show you the group 1 notes Blakeney and I made together, so this is a shared page again. So at the top we've just linked last year's paper. The linking is so useful. You use this as your central hub and then you can link all the pages you use on a daily basis. So I've got links to my Google Drive, like if there are any Google Drive documents, I'll just link them. And I'm someone who can't code at all. I've got no coding experience and it's so easy for me to use. Here are all of our notes. For example, these are our Philaster notes, so you can see that we've got context, we've got critical reading in the same way. We also will link a Google Drive document. So now let's go on to YouTube. So I've got a page for YouTube uploads. This is my upload schedule, just so I don't forget. I don't always stick to this, I'm quite bad at sticking to this. So then all of my video ideas are here, so they're separated into productivity and other videos. So for example, if you look under study tips, and the toggle again just makes it so easy to find these video ideas really quickly. Here are some of my upcoming videos. There's like a tick box here at the top where I can say like, oh yeah, it's planned, oh yeah, it's filmed, edited, final touches, and then if I have a deadline I can put it in and say like, oh, I need to have it up by the 10th of January. Then here is my upload calendar. So just to show you how you would make a calendar, it's so easy. Search for calendar as per usual, and then when you input things into the calendar, they come up as these mini pages again. So in calendars, I like to make miniature to-do lists of the things I need to do for that upcoming event. So I also have a page for Pumpkin Productivity Organisation. I've got an Instagram page as well. So then finally we have the other section. Okay, I'm gonna go for personal research. The other ones aren't very exciting, but I'll show you my personal research page because I do really like this. Again, as a student, like I'm someone who really loves learning and I love being able to organise information with Notion. As I said, that's my favourite thing about it. I'm thinking like, oh yeah, what was that thing I read a couple months ago? I can come back to this page and I can find it, and I just find it's a better way to synthesize knowledge. So the first thing here is my main timeline. When I'd finished with both of my other modules, I copy and pasted those timelines into a main one, which is this one. So this is the one I add to on a daily basis. I've just separated it into English history and then world history. I've only done North America and English history so far. The toggle system, again, just makes it really manageable so I can find what I need when I need it. So let's say I'm looking at Victorian England. I can find these events and details of these events so quickly, like it's amazing. Then here are critical essays I read for pleasure. So again, they're just linked, but if I come across an essay in my research where it's not really relevant to what I'm doing, but I want to read it at some point, I will come here. Then we've got specific authors, so linking to a page on Emily Dickinson. And let's say that I wanted to link here my lecture notes on Walt Whitman, link to page, and I will search for Whitman. There we go. And then that's linked there and I can easily get to that other page. So all of the reading I've done for Emily Dickinson appears under here. I have done a lot. And then there is just a place for past studies. I haven't made the time to fill this out yet, but I have started on philosophy and theology. Same thing, I've just linked all the critical reading I did for this module here so I can access it really easily. That's basically it. That is my Notion setup. I have skimmed over some bit just in the interest of time, but I hope that you found this video helpful and interesting. I cannot recommend Notion enough, especially since it's free. I mean, there is nothing to lose in trying it. I've found it completely revolutionises the way that I organise my notes. Literally, it's a dream to be working with Notion. Like, I was going to make this video anyway, and so the fact that they're sponsoring it is so exciting. There will be a link down below if you want to take a look and create a free account, and I hope that you have a productive week.